Let's go. So much happening in Washington, in Montgomery, in the world. We got a lot to do this afternoon. But right now, we're going to start locally and here at home talk about the weather tonight. The setup seems to be growing more intense in some ways. That is, the geography of where the severe weather is supposed to be has now spread across all of the state of Alabama for the most part. Timeline is kind of late this evening. Now, this isn't a big tornado outbreak event, it doesn't appear, but that remains an outside possibility for some areas. The chances are not zero. They're very low for that end of severe weather, but all the other stuff is in there too. Possible hail, definitely straight line winds. We're going to have tremendous downpours, thunder and lightning. For most of us, the timing is around 9 o'clock tonight, and it bears repeating, and I'll nag y'all about this till my last day on the radio. You need to have a weather radio or something that'll awaken you from a sleep. Now, I love all the new technology where we can look at our own radars on our phones and kind of track where we are and what's going on and get those updates and those push notifications. And those are great, but the key is they will not wake you up. They even with some of the alerts on your phones, I don't know how hard, some of y'all may not sleep that heavily, but that weather radio is designed, it doesn't have a snooze button or anything. When that thing goes off, you got to go turn it off and react. And the way it works is the weather radio goes off for your area, and then go check your local weather source and make sure you got a good beat on what's happening. And it's good practice to go ahead and have that in place. Anyway, we're just at the beginning of storm season. In fact, the weather is so volatile right now. We've got nearly 80 today in a lot of spots. By a couple of days from now, we'll be back down in the 30s. There was even one map today that showed a chance of snow in North Alabama before, I think, early next week. And then it blows back out of here and we're back in the 70s again. So it's that good old in like a lion, out like a lamb March forecast. So there's your update. We may get new maps or any kind of updated or changes in the forecasting on intensity and placement here in just a little while. They usually update that around 4, and we can actually start to see this system on the radar. So there it is. We generally start with weather at the top of each hour when we have inclement weather. Right now, let's start with, and we do have some Iranian stuff going on today, and I've gone through some of that. Apparently now the military is saying we've taken out 28 of Iran's mine-laying ships. The two headlines from there right now are that, and another headline that there may be a potential threat for the West Coast from a potential drone attack from these people. And so California officials are on high alert for that. I don't know if they have specific intelligence because this warning actually went out a couple of days ago, but they're just ramping up their defensive posture just in case. You know, we're not like the Israelis. We don't have bunkers. A lot of folks would not even know where to go if you were to get a drone warning. So we'll keep up with that. If there's anything developed that makes that seem more ominous or serious, we will let you know. The nations around Iran are getting together, all the Gulf states, Saudi Arabia, UAE, all of those countries, right, Oman, right there by Iraq, are planning on going on offense, they're saying, as a ground force and or more air power in the region. They're sick of being lobbed at. The Iranians are playing a cynical game of trying to disrupt the whole world's economy to put too much political heat on the United States and others that have them under the gun. And that's been their plan a long time ago. This is their doomsday plan. And as we talked about at the very beginning of this, they had sort of a dead man switch situation, which honestly, to give them credit, that was forward thinking. That shows you how serious they were about trying to be able to respond. They had orders that if they got taken out, they had units pre-deployed and they had exact orders of exactly what to do. In other words, if I go missing, I want you to bomb this thing. And they had it on a kill list, and they were hunkered down trying to hide the sources of those missile firings and drone launches. And they're still at it. There's still some loose. I'm telling you, it kind of reminds me of the stories we would hear about World War II, when you'd have the Japanese soldier living in the jungle for 20 years and didn't know the war was over and he was still trying to fight, stuff like that. I mainly got that from Gilligan's Island. Do you remember that episode, AJ? Did you ever watch Gilligan's Island?
Oh, of course.
Do you remember the episode where the Japanese guy was living on the island and they didn't know it and he was hanging out? And he got all Ginger kind of put the moves on him and his glasses fogged up. He goes, "You steal my glasses." You remember that episode?
I don't remember that one.
"You steal my glasses." He had his glasses on and she just made him all hot.
No, I missed that episode.
You know what I don't remember is how did they get that guy off the island? They didn't kill him. Did they put him on a boat? I don't remember that. I just remember the Japanese fighter in the jungle episode.
That that is a good. There were like random people that would just show up on the island. I'm like, how did they get there? And how come they got off? And how come they didn't go with them? And
how did the Thurston Howell and his wife have so many different outfits for a 3-hour tour? I mean,
right.
They bring luggage for a 3-hour tour.
Well. I am one of those overpackers.
Yeah, I can see that.
I will overpack for a one-day trip. I have like 15 different outfits because you never know. You never know.
True that. You need options because you never know what the weather's going to be when you get stranded on an island for the rest of your life.
Exactly.
Yeah, they still had Marianne and Ginger walk around in little slutty outfits the whole time.
I mean,
they didn't have any backup whatsoever. And poor old Professor and Gilligan, they had some swamp ass. They wore the same thing every day.
Yeah, and there was a lot of water, obviously, them being on the island, but I don't think there was any soap. So washing your hands was definitely out of the question.
Marianne probably made him some Kansas coconut soap from the farm back home, like from the grandma's recipe. You know how that goes. They had a little homemaker.
Probably so.
Oh, that was a nice little break from all doom and gloom in this. Let's see where the stocks wound up today. Let me do that real quick. And by the way, y'all get in here if you want to call. Dow down 289, not bad considering. That's about a half point. NASDAQ up today in the green. Didn't see the S&P yet. So the markets, oil is still up from where this thing started, but it hasn't done any huge lurches like it did over the weekend, just crazy swings. That means the price at the pump that we're looking at right now is probably going to stay pretty much where it is until we've got some certainty about the end, at least hostilities and the flow of oil, and it'll come down slower than it went up. But yeah, it's still, I think it was I want to say, I forget. I always look at I look at the diesel number. Diesel was $4.99 close to me, and it's kind of stayed there. And we'll see what happens with all that. So quick updates on that. Let me see what I'm forgetting. I had so many things, just randomness that left over. Now, apparently, let's go back to the SAVE Act and John Cornyn's race. I'm going to start a whole segment of the show for the next 2 weeks called Cornyn's Gotta Go. Cornyn got confronted in the hallways in the Senate. Let me see if I can get this audio to work. And he wasn't too happy because he had to come out today and sort of flip and pretend to be all MAGA and stomp his foot and say he's for the SAVE Act and for a filibuster. Now, he hadn't really been that vocal about it, but his opponent is. Ken Paxton's kicking his ass in the polling, and he's in deep trouble. He's only got 2 weeks to go. I don't know how they could spend any more money to help him. They're going to have to nuke Paxton somehow. They've already tried that. So here's Cornyn getting confronted in the Senate for sort of flip-flopping on it. He didn't like this question.
That nuking the filibuster would be taking a wrecking ball to Senate rules. Is that no longer true?
I said I'd be open to reforms.
What would you say to those who say you just changed your mind to win the president's endorsement?
I'd say that's not true.
You also said that if leadership...
I think we're through. Go ahead. Go away.
So he's put his hand up and shooed the reporter away. He didn't like that question. Now, here's a pro tip. I know he's been at this a long time. If you're losing and you're under pressure and you just did a flip-flop and you've got an opportunity to get on camera and take tough questions, stand there like a man and take the questions. The worst thing for him right now is for him to throw his hand up like he's Madonna being stalked by the paparazzi while he's trying to sneak onto an elevator and run from a question while he's getting his butt kicked, because the internet exists. And we've talked about that a couple of times in the show already. These, the spinners on the networks can't get away with what they used to get away with, and neither do these sleazeballs, thinking in his mind, in that moment, he was shooing a reporter away in a hallway. Well, what really happens, he was recorded on camera shooing a woman away in the hallway, so he did it in front of the world on the internet, and this is going to be passed all over Texas. So fun times in D.C. today. There have been some updates on the SAVE Act. I think they have punted. There was this plan that Thune came out with yesterday that they were going to put the thing on the floor next week. That was a ruse. That was him trying to set it up for failure by creating a 60-vote standard with really, they calling it the SAVE Act, but it was a Senate version of the bill, and that has a different requirement for the filibuster standard and not getting rid of the filibuster. He was just wanting it to fail so it will go away, and he needs Democrats to help him do it, so that they don't get caught killing a bill that they want dead. Thune wants this bill dead. He wants his boy Cornyn in the Senate. He wants this bill to die. It's a miserable time to be a cheese-eating surrender monkey, a French flag-waving surrender monkey in the Republican Party right now. It's just a bad time. These guys have got heat coming, and it's about damn time. Y'all keep it up. Keep the pressure on. Keep it on our senators and no senators. Because even though our senators both say they're for it, if you don't keep this fire lit, I mean, because here's how it works. They'll say they're for it, but if you call the dogs off, there's no intensity. If their office is getting the phone ring off the hook, the next time they get behind closed doors for a nice chicken, a salad with some chicken on it, and some marmalade and some sweet tea in their little side dining room, this is how it looks. And they're sitting there sawing on their chicken and debating what the hell's going on out there beyond those doors. They're talking to each other. They are talking to each other in the breaks. They're talking to each other in the hallways. And when they're catching hell back home, that gets conveyed because the heat's on all of them. It needs to stay on all of them. I'm not optimistic. Even though I saw Senator Kennedy last night saying that that he thought that eventually this thing would wind up on the president's desk. I just don't. I just think they're dug in right now, and we've just got some complete, absolute losers in the Senate delegation. And to be clear, it's not all of them. I mean, there's some really sincere people, but they're consistently outnumbered. And the party, as it turns out, doesn't stand for anything. A real party that stood for these things would be whipping this issue too. Every chairman in this country from their state level would be whipping this issue. You're getting pressure from above these senators and a whole different branch of government, and down here where all of us cave dwellers live, and the entitled, arrogant class, the professional politician class in Washington, thinks it's just noise. It's just another one of these things they're gonna get passed, and they just got to sweat this moment because, you know, the reason they believe that is because we always move on. We get mad as hell at them, and then we move on with our lives because we got stuff to do. We got jobs. We got kids to raise. We got stuff going on. You throw your hands up at them, and then they get to keep doing what they do. They know it'll weather. Everything goes away at some point to those people in that town. And they'll tell each other, wow, you'll catch some hell right now, but we'll make sure you got $10 or $20 million to rehabilitate your image come election day when you're up again. And they all buy that logic, and then somebody like Thune gets covered. So there's that. Let's take some calls as we get the second hour going. Still keeping an eye on the cameras. We may get Trump in here in a little bit. I think it's Regina up next, line 3. What's up, Regina?
Not a whole lot. How are you doing?
I'm doing well.
Thank you. That's great. I just wanted to tell you something. I heard this morning they were talking on here about the hostages that the Iranians had back in the 80s. And my children were little, and my son, who will be 50 this year, was like 3 or 4. And we lived across the street from the elementary school. Well, you know, when the hostages came home, everybody was flying yellow ribbons.
Mm-hmm.
You saw them everywhere.
Oh yeah.
And I had two of them tied on my car antenna. And when school would let out, my son would go out and stand at the end of the driveway and wait for sister to get home. And all these kids would be coming by, and this one guy goes, "What's yellow ribbons on the car for?" And my son was little, very little, for 3. He had a little deep voice, and he said, "Haven't you heard? The sausages came home."
The sausages.
The sausages.
He was paying attention though. He knew something was up.
So he called me this morning, and he said, "Mama, you think they'll take sausages during this war?" I said, "I don't know, son. They may take some sausages." So anyway,
Does sound the same, doesn't it? Kids are amazing.
Yeah.
They say some things. You should write that down and have that story at their wedding or something.
Yeah. All righty. Well, we'll talk to you, and y'all have a good evening.
All right, Regina. Let's go to Tim and get Tim in here real quick, and then I know we're getting up against another break. Tim, what do you have?
Hey, Leland, SAVE Act.
Yeah.
I would tell every senator, every representative on the Republican side, you either pass the SAVE Act or the money dries up. No donations to any Republican at any level and everybody go independent if these idiots can't get this done. That's my 2 cents. Thank you.
I got it. And money does talk, but the problem is aggregately, the small donations don't do what the big donations do. And, but yeah, and here's how it works. Individually, like Tim, for example, or me, or any of us, that if we were to become an individual donor, we're capped at how much money we can give per election cycle. I don't know what the cap is now. I think it's around 7,000. So you can give a certain amount per cycle, which means the primary, any primary runoff, and then the general election. And that's all you can give for the year. But they've created for themselves this money laundering PAC system where the donations are a lot larger. And when they move them around from PAC to PAC, you never know the original source of it. But I'll tell y'all this here unequivocally. The recipient of the money knows exactly where it came from, even though it would go through the Mom and Apple Pie PAC over to the Veterans and Farmers PAC, over to the Save the Little Crippled Children PAC, and that don't really exist. And then they eventually get the money on the other end after the solicitation or the event. But they know where the money came from, because that's the whole point. Why would you give a senator $50,000 and hide your contribution from them? Why you don't want any influence? That's what you're buying. You want them to make damn sure they know you're 50,000, but they manage the laundering system to get it through. And those people, when it hits the fan and they're on the phone and the senator's sitting there in their office in between votes, they're the people to get their phone call answered, not by the intern out front who's volunteering where your little $7,000 contribution came in. It's if you are on that list, they know who you are. They answer the phone and they listen to your talk, and they come to your house and do another fundraiser. It's a completely closed off world to the rest of us. And as much as we'd like to dry them up, and they do need both, but the volume and the messaging comes from the fat donors. I've seen it a million times right up front. It just does. It's the way the world works. Alabama Dental is my dentist. Y'all, I do appreciate them so much, taking care of all of us here on the show. Dr. Brian's just such a good guy. I had a great appointment just a couple of weeks ago. It was good to check that off my list. You need to put them on your list if you haven't been in a while. Let me be honest. Some people just, you'll let it go, because some people hate going to the dentist and some people are just busy. Well, they'll take those two excuses away from you. One, you'll like going here. They got a great staff. It's just a pleasant environment. They've got all the expertise in the world. 4 dentists, which gives them the ability to give you the hours to get in there as late as 7 o'clock at night, and even on Saturdays. So there goes your I don't have time excuse. Let's get her teeth checked. Preventive maintenance, like all of your health issues, is key. And this dental practice has been with us for years. Y'all would appreciate them, and let them know you appreciate them being on the show. It's alabamadental.com, alabamadental.com. Back here in just a minute. Listen, when I tell you Tommy over at Hueytown Pond's got a deal on these law enforcement Glocks, it is really a good deal. Now, these are cool guns. They're not brand new. They've been previously issued to law enforcement, and they'll do these in lots or batches, right? And so an agency will get issued these Glocks. They're in all the calibers. And then I don't know if it's like a lease program or how it works business wise. But Tommy, when they're done with that cycle and they'll bring them a new set of service weapons, they will put those up in the secondary market, I guess you would say. And Tommy, because he understands value, will go out and buy a whole lot of these things and get them back here to Birmingham. I bought two guns from him last year, but one of them was one of these law enforcement Glocks and 40 caliber that I chose. And he's got all of the calibers. They've got them in 9, they got them in 40 and 45. This is a good deal. Now it's the other thing that makes these available is, they came out with that new generation. Some of these are the older generation. They were great guns. New generation is nice if you want the latest stuff. If you want a good bargain, $399 for a Glock, just for your spare or for your other uses. Sometimes you just got to have them in convenient places, right? It's Hueytown Pond. Look, they've got everything in the way of weapons in terms of hunting stuff, all the accessories that go with that, tactical stuff, great line of tactical stuff, and all the things that go with that, scopes, sound suppression, just everything you want in a good gun store. And yes, because they have a pawn license, they also keep a nice stock of pre-owned things. People have brought all kind of stuff in. There may be some antique or some specialty weapon that you might just strike your fancy at a really great price. So go get to know Tommy and get over to Hueytown. Maybe you wouldn't have thought to drive all the way to Hueytown for a gun, but yeah, it's a great little dealership. Hueytown Pond, Brook Lane Drive. Y'all go see them. Hueytown Pond. All right, man, it's one of those news days. We're just kind of bouncing like a basketball between things that are happening and developing. We just got a lot of stuff in motion. I'm watching from some developments over this warning to California that it could be some potential drone attacks. You never know how much of that is hype or if this is a serious threat. It's not specific. It's kind of vague. And honestly, I don't know what people are supposed to do other than keep an eye on the skies. It's one of those head on a swivel moments in our country. But if you think about it, I was listening to some of the whiners about this situation. We would not have survived World War II with the attitude some people have in this country right now. There was so much sacrifice and so much that happened for us to be able to stop that madness. Back here in just a minute. Stay tuned. Man, Axiom Tax Resolution Group, all the crazy stuff we're reading, as frustrated as you are with your government and your politicians right now, you pay their salaries right out of your paycheck. All of it comes out of your paycheck. The government does not produce a thing. They do not produce a thing of wealth. They do some valuable things, but they don't produce money. That comes from us. And when they want their money to pay for all their toys and their programs and their failed activities, they'll take your house. They'll take your personal property, garnish your wages, threaten you. They'll threaten to pull in other agencies of the government unless you pay up. They've got an upper hand because the tax code's confusing. It's hard to even know what you owe. The rules change by the minute. They're different all the time. You need help if you are behind with the IRS, either this tax season as we're getting ready to file, or some of you have already done it or fear it, or even from past tax years where it just mounted up and you couldn't deal with it and you put it off. And now they're after you. Perry Cronin can help. He's an absolute expert. He knows as much about this as any expert in this country. And we're lucky that we have him here in Birmingham because we can sit down with him face to face. This isn't some referral based thing. You'll see these TV ads for these big firms and maybe they do a good job. I don't know, because I don't know who their people are. A lot of times they're generating business with those ads and they'll dump them off on some CPA that's in their program. This is Perry, man. I know this guy. I know his team. His family's in the business. Those guys will help you get squared away. It's Perry Cronin, Axiom Tax Resolution Group. Don't lose any more sleep. Let him go to work for you. He can make the harassment stop. He can get a program worked out so you can get this paid back. And most importantly, in some cases, get your overall debt reduced. It's 205tax.com, 205tax.com. That storm line is now edging into Alabama. We're keeping a loose eye on it tonight just because we'll be in here much later, well after our show. Our timeline for the Birmingham Metro basically is somewhere starting around 8 o'clock till about 10 o'clock, and then it moves on to the south and to the east. Could be a rocker tonight. Keep your eyes out. Again, the most intense part of it should be down around the southwest part of Alabama, back into Mississippi. But so far, the good news is these storms have stayed below severe limits so far this afternoon. All right, here's that soundbite I was going to play from Trump. Back to the SAVE Act for a minute because all of Washington is talking about this in the moment. Trump was asked about Thune and leadership and the fact that he wanted to play this game of throwing his hands up because, hey, man, I just don't have the numbers. You know, I got 4 or 5 of my people that just won't go along with it. So what am I supposed to do? Here's Trump.
When you say you want to pass the Save America Act, he says there aren't the votes to do it right now. What's your response?
Well, he's got to be a leader. You know, if he's a leader, he's got to get him. It's the most popular bill I've ever seen put before Congress. And it's voter ID and it's voter. You have to be able to be a citizen to vote. It's called citizenship. And we're also adding in no men playing in women's sports, no transgender mutilization of our children, and no mail-in ballots, fake mail-in ballots. We have none of that, except in the case of the military, etc. It is the Save America Act. It's the most popular bill I think I've ever put before Congress.
Basically, he said there, just to paraphrase again, look, you got to be a leader. You got to lead your people. You got to whip them into shape. Now, one of those votes against it is Lisa Murkowski from Alaska. And I was doing some more reading. And as y'all know, you're like, how could a state like Alaska? Alaska is a very pro-Trump, very red state, a lot of hardworking people, hardy, real tough people that live in that state. And how could they put a crazy woman like this and repeatedly put her back? You got to understand how their voting system works. They have something called a ranked choice voting system. And you don't need a majority. You don't even need to have a majority, even in some ways, even a real plurality of popular support to wind up with the seat. Now, it's way too complicated for me to explain. And honestly, I'm not sure I can. I keep studying it. It's where they go in. They go in and you sort of pick your top 2. Then they sort of figure it out from there. You pick your top 2 candidates. It's a dumb system. It produces terrible results. And honestly, I think it completely violates the one man, one vote principle that we've always stood by in this country. Whenever voters can't directly just vote and we count and we're done, which is part, if you think about it, it's part of the psychology of what's going on here. She benefits from a bastardized version of how to get people into office. And what we're dealing with the SAVE Act is trying to correct all these other crazy ideas that have come up over the years that have allowed you could drive a truckload of El Salvadorians right into the polls. And there's not much to do about it in some of these blue states that don't check IDs, that put these people on the record, give them all kinds of welfare and encourage them to vote. And it's what the Democrats are freaked about. By the way, every time in this, we got two things going on with the Senate right now that are creating all the drama. And they are the Homeland Security shutdown and this issue. And in my mind, they're connected. I think the Democrats, by keeping the shutdown going, I think one of the things they're trying to do is they're not going to get ICE defunded. ICE is already funded. And they're not going to get some of the other things they're demanding. But they are getting a delay in the SAVE Act. And in a lot of ways, the two work together because the Homeland Security and ICE are deporting their voters. And the other thing that would just crush them in fair elections, straight up or down, American citizens only, would be a rule change and a law change that requires citizenship to be able to vote. And they fear this, and they need to kill it themselves. And I honestly think Thune should be tossed out of the majority leader's position for allowing them to leverage him on both points. They've got him compromised, and people are suffering. There's a story today, and I don't know what the number is as of this afternoon, because this morning it was 300, and I can't remember who first reported this, but it came from one of the senators and then got into the media. 300 TSA workers have walked off the job. They just quit. They just no pay, and they're working in these extended conditions and with the layoffs and the delays that we're having. I mean, look, we're all stressed. If you have to show up at the airport, I saw a warning today that said you need to get to the airport 5 hours early, 5 hours early to catch your flight. That means if that's going on, there are also going to be delayed flights all over the place, which we're seeing. And so as much as some of these TSA workers can be rude and obnoxious, they're working, they're at their job, and they're dealing with these lines. They're dealing with this pressure and no paycheck. And we count on these people to keep us safe. And now I don't know how many thousands they probably employ all over the country. There's been an argument to just get rid of the TSA and let the airlines and the airports handle security based on a new set of standards and professionalize it a little bit more. And I'll never forget when, I think it was under Obama, when they let them unionize, and it's become a mess of a situation. But then they're put in this bad spot with the Democrats playing games with their lives. And so 300 of them have walked off. That's 300 less that they can call in an already bad situation. Here's the thing. If you're going somewhere to try to take a flight, and if it were to be 6 hours from you, might as well drive. Let's just say 7 hours. You would still get there quicker if it's a 7 hour. We're trying to think of what would be 7 hours from here. And you were planning on flying. You could almost get to Dallas, Texas by car before you could get there by airplane under those conditions. If you got to be at the airport that much earlier, because there's the drive to the airport, which for a lot of people is 30 minutes to an hour. Then there's this 5 hour delay where you got to be there that early and stand in line for 2 or 3 hours. Then there's the flight itself, which is a couple hours. I mean, we're at 8 hours right now. You'd have a lot smoother day and a lot easier time if you just got in a car and drove to your destination. And that's where we are right now, at least for the moment. But it continues. All that drama continues, and we're still following that too. In the back rooms, they're going to wind up leveraging one of these issues against the other. I honestly believe Schumer is probably telling Thune that they'll give up on the shutdown if Thune can kill the SAVE Act. And that's some of what's going on behind this. It's just disgusting. I'm so disgusted with these people. All right, what else is going on? 545-9950 if you want to get in on the show. I know I'm bouncing around. I don't have some theme or some driving headline that we're just working toward this afternoon like we do sometimes when the news breaks. Let's talk about EcoView Windows. Man, what a great company. I'm so glad to have them on the show because this is a serious issue for a lot of people. If you got old school single pane, maybe some of your windows are cracked, or, windows expand and contract like all your building materials, and they pull loose where they're sealed around the frame, and you just got a leaky house. And so here sits your air conditioner out there. In the winter, it was your heat pump. And in the summer, your air is going, and that thing's fighting against the way your house is built just to keep you comfortable. You keep moving the thermostat, trying to get comfortable. And man, you just need to get your windows replaced. Sometimes it's a fire hazard. You couldn't get them open. You'd have to break them out to get away from a fire. You get EcoView windows, and then you get new technology, thermal technology that'll help insulate your home. These double and triple pane windows, they open and shut like just smoothly because they're brand new. Some are tilt to clean, so they're easier to clean from the inside of your house. You can do it yourself. So many reasons. Could be some tax implications for getting this done as well. The thing about Becky Jackson and EcoView is they're going to put the best, the best products in the world in your home. A lot of choices in your architectural style, and you'll be glad you did it. And again, there's a 35% payback in your savings on your bills alone, just over the first 12 months. Let them explain how they guarantee the cost savings in getting your house tight. And your house looks more beautiful. So many reasons to do it. And do it with EcoView. Becky's got the best installers. They work hard. They'll give you a free estimate. Everything's covered while they're on site. Long-term warranties after they leave on everything. They even have glass break warranties. It's ecoviewwindows.com, ecoviewwindows.com. Back here in a minute. Y'all, All American Metals. I wish they'd been around when I was building this building. I mean, they were around. I just didn't know about them. A lot of you didn't know about them until they came on the show. Listen, this is the turnkey place to get a steel building built. And you can do so much with steel nowadays. It's not those old ugly sort of industrial looking buildings anymore. You can make them beautiful. You can do so many things on your retail build outs, on your commercial space, at home with a pole barn or a shed or one of these things. Y'all, this is a great company, All American Metals. I'll tell you their backstory. 2 generations, they go back to putting up steel since the 1960s, and they're just good at it. And we'll come out to they'll start with the design. And when it comes to your design, you need to be pressed a little. Maybe you think you know what you want. They'll ask you the right questions, put together a stamped set of plans. You're going to need that for some of the stuff you have to do, the perfunctory stuff, zoning and financing and things like that. Then when you're ready, they're going to develop and build the whole building for you at their factories, assembling it together, delivering it to your site, and then it can even help you with contractors to get it out of the ground. This is the place to get your handheld, get your building built quickly. You will love the affordability of it. Their prices are better than their competitors. Their turnaround is way faster. You're getting very, very personal service, custom design. It's everything you want in these kind of projects, whether it's commercial, like we said, big warehouses, or just personal. Like me, I got a pole barn, and I love my pole barn. I could live in here. It's All American Metals, aa-metal.com, aa-metal.com. Well, Trump speaking live in Hebron, Kentucky. I'm going to get a couple calls in here before we try to go to that. We may dip in and out of it. We're probably not going to go wall to wall with it. It's about pharmaceuticals. He may even be talking in a little while about the Iran situation. We want to pick up on those comments. First up here is E on line 4. What's up, E?
Hey, sir. Hope you're doing well.
I am.
So I have a question. I don't know if you might be able to answer this or not. I don't know if it's, but before Yugoslavia fell, Iran helped Bosnia during the war, and then Israel helped Serbia, and Serbia was the aggressor. Do you have any insight on why each one of those helped those countries?
No, that was a crazy time, the Balkanization concept and how those regional conflicts at the fall of the Soviet Union broke up. That's a good question, though. I can't remember much about who the alliances were. There's a huge Muslim population, though, in some of those countries. Serbia in particular, I think Bosnia-Herzegovina, and some of the other countries in that region. And it's probably going to be along those lines, even though they're not ethnically Persian and definitely not Arab. They do share a Muslim faith, and it was probably along those lines, I would suspect.
Yeah, I was just curious, mainly about the Israel part, why they hold Serbia. That was just,
Yeah.
I guess that answered that question. Never mind then.
Yeah, because it was tribal. It was secular versus some of these religious sects. There was a power vacuum there, and people were rushing into it. And it was sort of this food fight, which may wind up being the same thing that happens when Iran has the freedom to fight it out and decide who's going to run the country. There are a lot of rival factions that go back hundreds of years, predating our country, that still have beefs with each other. Hey, good question, E. I'm actually going to do a little research on that tonight. Let's see if we can get.
I appreciate it, Leland. Thank you so much.
Yeah, man. Good to hear from you. Hope you're doing well. Joe is up next. A traffic update. We want to make sure we catch that, not have y'all miss something out there. Joe, what you got?
Hey, Leland. Good to talk to you.
You too.
They were saying that traffic was backed up to Green Springs, and we got on at Lakeshore 22 minutes ago, and we're about a quarter mile from Green Springs.
That's a mess.
Yes, it is. And there's been a fender bender in the left lane. I think the folks were just going to exchange numbers, but I still see them parked off to the side. But it's making the far left lane even more difficult.
Oh yeah, I'm looking at it now on the map. It backs up all the way to almost Shades Crest Road now. It's way past even Lakeshore, all the way into downtown. That's a mess. I wouldn't go north and south on 65 tonight for sure.
No. I hope they get it cleared up before 4:30, 5 o'clock.
Yeah,
sure.
I know it.
Hey, I have a question for you.
Sure, yeah, go, Joe.
Quick. I was talking to a gentleman one this morning who was a Vietnam veteran, and I just thanked him for his service, and we chatted, and he said, well, I'm mad about this war. He said, why are we fighting Iran? And I said, well, I guess because they'd like to kill us, and we want to, prevent that. And he said, well, there's already 15 dead soldiers. So what do you say to that, Leland? I don't want to be flippant and say, well, hey, bud, that's the job. But
yeah, you got to be sensitive, because 15 soldiers are soldiers we wouldn't have. But there are thousands more that are dead and maimed because of Iran's activity over the last years. Those 15 gave their life so that years from now, there'd be a hell of a lot more dead soldiers if Iran achieved their missile program or their bomb. We're not really fighting them. We just crushed them before they could continue to threaten the world. They have maimed and injured and killed our soldiers for 47 years in the Riyadh, in those towers. And they've gone after public officials. They've had assassination squads. We got a lot of people walking around right now with artificial limbs in this country that are at the direct hands of what the Iranians did when our forces are deployed around the world. They have been a menace and a terror threat we've been at war with them for 47 years. Trump didn't start it. We're going to end it, because we're just going to end that and move on with the world in peace. And peace is going to outbreak in a major way in that region, because we're the only country that could have put an end to this maniac regime, who are very dangerous, not just to us, but their neighbors. Look at their neighbors. Every Arab nation over there right now are sitting together in a meeting trying to get their battle plan. They're about to join the fight against this country. They're sick of them. The world is sick of them. And it took American leadership to put an end to this madness. That kind of reasoning would say, well, all the effort and sacrifice in World War II was for naught. I mean, we had to go stop a maniac, 3 maniacs really, in 3 different despotic countries. But the world descended into war because we didn't act sooner. When World War II broke out, we had to build a military. We didn't have any apparatus. We had to build a war machine and then go over there and fight it with a lot of uncertainty as to how it was going to come out. And now in 11 days, we've already crushed the spirit out of these people, just about ready to wrap it up. There's so much upside potential for energy markets and freedom and commerce and other peace deals that come from this. And 15 is a lot of sacrifice, but this country has sacrificed a lot more in the past for being short-sighted and letting a maniac regime grow out of control. The 1930s politicians had the same philosophy when they let Hitler grow out of control. And this is just as big a threat. Iran is just as big a threat as Hitler ever was.
You're absolutely right, Leland. I wish I had quick thinking.
Well, thanks for asking, though. I mean, sometimes it's
a great answer.
Well, try to memorize it. I hope you were taking notes. No, I'm just saying, I don't know that's the perfect answer. We got a lot of folks in the audience who could probably answer it better than me. But if you've got a long view of history, history has seen these moments before when we failed to act. And I mean, there's just no debate. Had we acted sooner and kept Germany in a box, we would not have had to get the people killed that we got killed, having to fight them on an entire continent. And then it allowed the Japanese to break out. Everybody took their moment because America was weak. We had a pacifist appeasement approach to world affairs. We were very much isolationist. We'd just gotten out of the Depression. And so we turned around and had to, I was talking about sacrifice of our citizens. The World War II generation didn't get fed up with our effort after 11 days. They spent 2 years going to the factories and building a war machine, getting up scrap metal and rubber and buying Liberty bonds and supporting the effort so that we could stop madness and a threat to the world, because it affected all of us. We do not live in some isolated bubble where enemies and dangerous people are not constantly at us. And we got to deal with these things. Plus, this helps us with the Chinese. There's so much upside. Back in a minute, top of the